Welcome. So in this part, we're really putting together everything that we've learned so far. So I've called it putting it all together. So what exactly does that mean? Well, what we're being asked to do is to factorize this cubic. And to do this, what we're going to have to do is use our factor theorem, our polynomial long division, in order to get to our end result. So everything that we've learned up to this point is really going to be utilized to answer this very simple question. It's just asking us to factorize a cubic, but it's going to involve a lot of steps. The first one that we're going to use is our factor theorem. So step one, trial and error to find a factor. Sub in factors of the constant term until you get 0 out. When you get 0 out, it means you've found a factor. All right, so what exactly does that mean? Well, we're using our factor theorem. And our factor theorem tells us that when we put in a number, so if we were to go p of 5, and that would to get us 0 out, it means that we've found a factor. So we'll sub in numbers until we get 0 out, and then we've found a factor. And that's what we want to do. We just want to find a factor first. Now, are we just going to sub in random numbers? That would take us forever. And thankfully, we don't. Rather, what we just have to do is sub in factors of the constant term. So here are the factors of 24, plus or minus 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, 12, and 24. We're just going to sub these in until we get 0 out. So let's do that now. So I'm going to start with p of 1. And if I was to do that, let's just do this really quickly, I would get 1 minus 3 minus 10 plus 24. And just by looking at this, I can quite clearly see that this is not going to be equal to 0. So let's just leave it. Let's go p of negative 1. Well, that's going to give me negative 1. Then it'll give me negative 3. And then it'll give me plus 10, then plus 24. And looking at this once again, we can clearly see this is not going to give me 0. So we keep on going. So, what this means is we haven't found a factor yet. Now I'd go p of 2. Now if I was to do this, I would get 2 cubed is 8, minus now 2 squared is 4, 4 threes are 12, minus 20, plus 24. Let's give this a go. Let's see what happens. Oopsie daisy. I've got 8 and 24, and if I was to add those together, that would give me 32, and I get negative 12 and negative 20. That's going to give me negative 32. Would you look at that? If I sub p of 2 in, so if I let x equal 2, that means I get 0 out. So x equals 2 results in 0. So what does that mean? What that means is x minus 2 is a factor of p of x. So that is a very important statement right there. So x minus 2 is a factor of p of x. Because remember, what we would end up doing is we would end up going x minus 2, set that equal to 0, then solve for x, that equal to, then sub that in. So because we subbed 2 in, it means x minus 2 is our factor. Perfect. So we found a factor. We used our factor theorem, and we have found a factor. And just to recap there, we subbed in factors of the constant term, so 24, until you get 0 out. So we went through 1, negative 1, then we got 2. 2 gave me 0 out. So that means x minus 2 is a factor of p of x. Step 1 done. I'm using my factor theorem. Perfect. Next. We're now going to divide p of x by the factor x minus 2. So my next step is polynomial long division. Polynomial long division. That's my next step. So I'm going to go x minus 2, and I'm going to divide that by my dividend, which is, and I'm going to have to zoom out here, it's x cubed minus 3x squared minus 10x plus 24. Perfect. Let's now zoom in. And let's do this. So remember, by doing this, we're going to find our other factor. So I'm going to get x squared here. This is going to be x cubed. This is going to be negative 2x squared, brackets, brackets, minus. This is going to be x squared. It's going to be minus x squared. Then I'm going to carry down this negative 10x. And then I'm going to go, this is going to be negative x. This is going to be negative x squared, negative positive 2x. Minus that. I'm going to carry down this 24. This is going to be 0. This is going to be negative 12x plus 24. Then this is going to be negative 12 here. This is going to be negative 12x plus 24, brackets that, 0. Remember, now that we can zoom out here for a second, remember it's really important that you get 0 out here. So this is our remainder. And if you didn't get 0 out, it means you've done something wrong, because we know that this is a factor. So we know it goes perfectly into this polynomial. So if you didn't get something, if you didn't get 0 out as your remainder, you know you've done something wrong. Perfect. Now we can say the following. We can say that p of x, and I might actually do this in a different color. Let me do it in purple. I can say that p of x is going to be equal to my divisor, x minus 2, multiplied by the quotient, x squared minus x minus 12. Perfect. Now, just to repeat, this is my other factor. We have found that. We have found our other factor by dividing our polynomial by the factor what we first had. Perfect. And that's step 2. So step 2 is using polynomial long division. Step 3. So step 3, we start off with what we had just before, x minus 2, x squared minus x minus 12. And as you can see here, the instructions are factorize the quadratic if possible. So that means what we're doing here is I'm factorizing just the quadratic. So that means I need to find something with a product of negative 12 that sums to negative 1. What are those factors going to be? It's going to be negative 4 and 3. So that means now I can rewrite this as x minus 2, x minus 4, and x plus 3. So I have factorized my cubic by doing this. I have factorized my cubic. So we started off with a cubic that looked like this, and by using these 3 steps, I was able to take this right here and write it in its factorized form. Perfect. Hopefully this made sense, these 3 steps. In the next video, I'll go through another example, and I'll see you then.